I came back from visiting my parents' house, really depressed.
Tell me.
Well, it was just a whirlwind trip, and my folks had planned all sorts of activities, invited over family and friends, and oh, those times were great. Sitting around talking, laughing, sharing old stories. Those were some of my favorite times, especially when it was just family.
Just family?
Well, when my friends were there, it wasn't as enjoyable.
Oh, why was that?
Well, my parents, the little comments they made, it was subtle, but it was there. Little comparisons between me and my friends, like how wonderful it is to have a hands-on role for grandparents and raising kids, like my friends' folks, and how my friends are so involved in all the community activities, like they are, and like what I could contribute if I lived there. Little comments on and on like that. I just really have this nagging sense that I should do what my parents want me to do. Maybe I should move back there.
Hey, did you hear about the 60s concert that's coming up?
Yeah, I heard about that. When is it?
It's the same weekend as the raft trip.
Oh.
What do you want to do?
I'd really like to see that concert. But I'm committed to the river with Sean, and I think that's what he'd like to do most. I'm really looking forward to rafting down that river with you, Sean.
Oh, man. The river will be there anytime, but this concert may not happen again. But I don't want Tim to be disappointed or angry. Okay. Hey, that's great. Let's go.
Right.
I'll see you.
Right. See ya. Rats.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, buddy, just wanted to let you know I got into a little bit of a bind last night when Sue and I went to the movies. You know, the ATM is the other way, and, well, you know that 20 on your dresser? I knew you wouldn't mind floating me alone.
Do I look like an ATM? Sure, not a problem. I know where you live.
Thanks. The craziest thing happened on the way home. The car just died. I don't know what was wrong with it, so we just left it on the side of the road. You know what? With your know-how, I'll bet you could take a look at it today and figure out what's wrong with it and have it fixed in no time.
Great. No problem.
So, is like now okay? You're not doing anything, are you?
Of course not. Let's go.
Kathy, you are my last hope. Look, I cannot find a babysitter for these kids, and I have got to be at church to help plan VBS. I know you're busy, but you know, I know how much that you really want to help out at VBS this year.
Sure, Sharon. Bring the kids by.
Yeah, oh, Kath, you are
Support VBS. I'll be making the name tags for 500 kids and designing the handout for the parents so they can help the kids with the memory work.
You know what? I'm going to bring these kids by about 6 o'clock. Now, how about 3? I'll bring them by about 3.
Okay, I'll see you later.
Oh, hi, Marcia.
Hey, I noticed that new Meg Ryan movie is showing at the mall. About 12:05, wondered if you might want to take a long lunch. I could pick you up.
Oh, I'd love to, Marcia, but I'm swamped. Maybe we can take a rain check on that, okay?
Yeah, sure. Just a crazy thought. Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
I did it again. Always taking the initiative, and she's always got something to do. Sure doesn't feel like a friendship to me.
How do you feel when Rob drinks?
I feel like he doesn't think about what he's doing. I feel like
No. You're evaluating his drinking. How do you feel about it?
I feel like he doesn't care.
That's what you think about him. How do you feel when he drinks?
I feel very alone and afraid.
Michelle, tell me why you get mad at Jim.
Because he's always late. He never comes home early enough for us to have any time together.
That can't be it. People don't make other people angry. Your anger has to come from something inside of you.
What do you mean? He's the one who comes home late.
Well, what if you have plans to go out with your friends that night? Would you still be angry at him for being late?
No, that's different.
You said that you get angry because he's late, and he would still be late, and yet you wouldn't be angry.
Well, in that situation, he wouldn't be doing anything to hurt me.
Not exactly. It is your want, not his. So you're responsible for having it fulfilled. That's a rule of life. We can't get everything we want. And so it's up to us, individually, to grieve over those disappointments, not to punish someone else for them.
What about common respect? Staying at the office is selfish.
Well, he wants to stay at the office. You want him to come home. You both want something for yourselves. We could say you're being just as selfish as he is. Well, the truth is, neither one of you is being selfish. It's just that you have conflicting wants. This is what marriage is all about. Getting those conflicting wants resolved.
She wants too much. She wants the perfect home, including a homemade patio cover, landscaping, remodeling. I can't find the time for myself.
What do you mean can't? And don't you mean won't?
No, I can't. She'd be angry if I didn't do the work.
Well, that's her problem. It's her anger.
Guess who has to listen to it?
No, you don't. You are choosing to do all these things for her. And you're choosing to take the tongue lashings that happen if you don't. Any time that you spend doing something for her is a gift from you. And if you do not want to give it, you don't have to. Stop blaming her for all this. I know it would be a lot easier if she just stopped wanting you to do all these things. But this is a good opportunity for you to learn to say no. How many hours a week do you want to give her for home improvement?
About 4 hours. And I could work for her and then still have a little time left for a hobby.
It had been a horrible morning. Gerald and I got in an argument at breakfast, and he left without saying goodbye. Then Tanya, our 1-year-old, spilled cereal all over the floor. And Robbie, who's 3, chose that morning to do everything we've told him not to do for the past 3 years. He pulled the cat's tail. He figured out how to open the front door, and then he ran into the street. He smeared my lipstick all over our white dining room walls. And then he pushed his little sister down. When I saw Tanya lying on the floor, crying, and Robbie standing over her with that defiantly pleased look, it was just too much. I ran over, picked up Robbie, and shook him hard. And then I screamed at him loudly. And this isn't the first time, just the most intense. I almost hurt him. And I'm frightened about what I might do the next time.
How do you two normally discipline Robbie?
Well, we don't want to alienate Robbie or quench his spirit. Being negative is so, well, negative. So we try to reason with him. Sometimes we try to warn him that he won't get ice cream that night. Sometimes we'll try to praise him for something he's done good, and sometimes we'll ignore the bad behavior. Then maybe it'll go away.
Doesn't he push the limits?
Like you wouldn't believe. It's like he doesn't even hear us. He's really a problem child.
Well, there certainly is a problem, but maybe Robbie has been trained to not respond to anything but out-of-control rage.
You know, Linda, when I first got this job, I loved it. It was fun to book the training sessions and manage the speaker schedule, but I am really running out of steam and my attitude stinks.
I've been noticing you're losing your enthusiasm. What's going on?
It's Jack. He's supposed to set up all the facilities for each training session. He's supposed to take the materials to the site, set up all the equipment, and order the food. But he keeps asking me to do more and more of his jobs.
You've got to stop doing his work for him.
Yeah, but what if something goes wrong?
They blame him. It's not your responsibility.
No, he gets angry at me for not helping.
What do these various scenarios have in common? Well, a person with weak or non-existent boundaries needs to establish or enforce healthy boundaries. More specifically, one person is taking ownership of someone else's problem and then neglecting ownership of his or her own life. The problem, though, is generally not the controlling person. The problem is the other person's failures to set boundaries. The solution is not for the controlling person to change their ways, but for the person feeling controlled to take the first step to establish clear boundaries.
Many of the boundary conflicts that you encounter, like many of the scenarios we saw, can be solved by taking the specific steps we looked at last time. These steps will help you realize that the process of resolving these conflicts is ultimately about self-control rather than other control. First, identify the symptom. Look at your life and see where boundary problems exist with your family or friends or spouse, kids, or coworkers. You need to recognize or own the problem and agree to take action to solve it. You will not resolve a boundary problem by wishing it away.
Second, identify the roots of the symptom. You don't act in inappropriate ways for no reason. You're often trying to meet some underlying need that's never been met. What need is driving the conflict? Well, that need is the root cause of the boundary conflict. You need to face that need or recognize the fear or unresolved pain and start working on getting it met.
Third, identify the boundary conflict. Consider what law of boundaries is being violated. We can't stop acting out a dynamic until we understand what's going on and what we are doing to contribute to the conflict. So, take the log out of your own eye, and you'll be better able to see what the specific boundary problem is.
Next, and closely related to identifying the boundary conflict, is identifying who needs to take ownership in the situation to get the need met. And that person might be you. So be aware that it's not enough to understand your need. You must get it met. One way of dealing with an unmet need is to take in the good. God is willing to meet your needs through His people, but you must humble yourself. Reach out to a good support system and take in the good that's offered to you. Learn to respond to and receive love, even if you're clumsy at it at first. Also, keep in mind that boundaries are like muscles. They need to be built up in a safe support system and allowed to grow. If you try to shoulder too much weight too quickly, your muscles may tear or be pulled. We need bonding and support before we build boundaries.
That support system is important when our boundary skills are fragile and new because it gives you a safe place to practice. Start to say no by practicing with people in your supportive group who will love you and respect your boundaries. As you practice setting limits with safe people, you will begin to grow in your ability to take responsibility for yourself and more easily set limits in other areas of your life.
In addition to practicing new skills in safe situations, avoid hurtful situations. Put simply, say no to the bad. Avoid people who have abused and controlled you in the past.
Finally, forgive. To forgive is not to lack boundaries. Unforgiving people allow other people to control them. Setting people who have hurt you free from an old debt is to stop wanting something from them, and it sets you free as well. Forgiving can lead to proactive behavior in the present, and it can free you from passive wishes rooted in the past.